What's up, the Generation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast. This is the off-season college football betting catch-up. I'm Stuckey, and joining me once again today, my guy Alex K. Just a quick episode, one-off episode here, like we did a couple weeks ago. Just keep people's beaks wet as we quickly approach the college football season, which will be here before we know it. And just an FYI, some programming notes in about 3 weeks, we will kick off all of the conference previews. We'll have you covered for every single team, every single conference. My guy Colin will be back for those, obviously. Look forward to diving into those in the midst of all of the off-season work as we speak. But I just wanted to catch up with Alex, talk a little ball. This might be a little Big Ten slanted episode. A lot of intrigue with Big Ten quarterbacks. It's fascinating from top to bottom. So we'll rate our top five, talk about who we think are alphas, and maybe give out just a couple looks for some win totals in the Big Ten. But what's going on, Alex?
Not much, man. How was the Lexington Legends game? Big AAA guy.
Oh, it's amazing. No, they're not even AAA. They're like independent. I think they used to be AAA, AA. I don't know, but they're like an independent league now.
So there,
Um,
so there are no betting markets available at
yeah,
all.
the game took forever. For those who don't know, my wife got me on a surprise birthday party at the Legends game, invited some people that were some friends in town. Um, so yeah, it was a good time. But the game took forever. Um, I mean, it was like I don't even know the final score, but it was like 17-10. It was like a 4 hour game. Um, so yeah, it was fun. And then we hit the bar after a bar where my wife's bar where Stoops was recently spotted.
Need thoughts on the bar, man. Um, is it
Well,
worth any repricing anything with
I might
Stoops
I might
making?
bump them a half from bias. It's a half win bias for going to stagger in. Um, but no hoops. Stoops enjoys his free time. The vibes are definitely really low in regards to Kentucky football. I mean, a lot of people are saying this is Stoops' last year, but I don't even know how that's all going to work. Like the buyout is crazy. I know the buyout last year I think would have been like in total, I think 40 million. Don't quote me on that, but it was something crazy. And then who are you going to bring in? The guy everyone wants to bring in is Summerall. He went to Kentucky, hot name, and I'm sure he has his sights set. I know it's his alma mater, but he has his sights set on eventually a big time SEC gig. Would he take it? I mean, money always talks. But like my thing is that you're just not going to win. I don't think you can win a national championship in football in Kentucky. And so to put all of that money into it, I'm just like, just let them be, put it into basketball. But I don't know if Summer would come and then risk his stock, right? Like his stock going down if there's a couple more rough years in Kentucky. So part of me wants to just you always buy Stoops you're when everyone else wants to sell him. Just Kentucky football in general, right? And so part of me wants to buy in on Kentucky. I still have to do some work on them, but the vibes in Lexington are very low.
The vibes at the bar, though, is the more important thing. What's the appetizer list looking like? We got any reverse happy hours going?
For what? I'm sorry.
We got any reverse happy hours going? Any good appetizers at this bar?
No, there's no food. No food bar. It's a pure drinking bar.
Yes.
But we have good specials, and I will tell you, Kentucky, not sure early numbers said potentially an over, but if they lose the week one to Toledo, I, then it's which isn't that it's not crazy to think. I mean, Toledo went down to
Yeah.
Starkville last year and beat Mississippi State by I don't know 30.
Toledo also, I remember they beat Arkansas. I mean, it was a long time ago, but still, like those just screams, tricky spot
Yeah,
right
and
off the
Toledo
top.
has talent. And then it's just like the vibes are going to be shot. So we'll see if Kentucky to play. I think they're, what are they, a 10, 11 point favorite in that game. So definitely not out of the realm of possibilities that they lose that game. But let's talk a little Big Ten quarterbacks. So, like, if you look at the Big Ten right now, if you can figure out the quarterbacks, so if you were able to crack the code of the quarterbacks, you're going to figure out the Big Ten, and then you're going to figure out a big part of the playoff and national title picture because there's a lot of brand new, there's a lot of unproven. I think week one, we might have only five out of the 18 Big Ten teams are starting a quarterback that started for them last year. Um, so I'll ask you first, and then I'll give you my answer. If you had to rate the top five, now it's a tricky question, so it's you can frame it however you want because there's probably a different answer for there's three different answers probably. There's one that's like right now going
Hmm.
into the season. Then there's going to be another list of at towards the end of the season going into the college football playoff, right? Like a guy like saying he might be number one for Ohio State by the end of the year. And that's all Ohio State should worry about. They're probably going to make the playoff. Maybe he struggles a bit early, but you just want to make sure that he's the guy and he's ready for the college football playoff. That's basically all I would be worried about if I was an Ohio State man. And obviously, finally beating Michigan again. Um, and then there's also just the situations. Like there's some guys are in much better situations than others, coordinators, talent around them. So you have to take that into account as well. But I think you have to start at with Aller at one, but it's not like I'm fully sold on Aller being the guy based on his performances in big games, especially when under pressure, both mentally and physically. I, I feel like that's what most people would say with one, but I'm curious, where would you go for your top five? There's also ton of guys with like upside, ton of guys that just didn't live up to expectations that were, former five stars at different spots. You could I mean, even Nico going to UCLA. You have a guy like Preston Stone, obviously not in the best situation in Northwestern, but the guy who had a ton of talent before. And then you have the young kids, the Underwoods, who, Underwood's not in the best situation at Michigan as far as just talent compared to Ohio State, but just a lot of uncertainty across the board. How would you think about your top five in the Big Ten?
You didn't even name my guy. I'm planting the flag for Fernando Mendoza,
He's in
who
my top five for what
is
it's
he?
worth. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, we could look at this from a variety of different ways. I think Indiana is a big buy for me, but yeah, I would go if we had to take a combination of like what they're worth, season-ending results. I'd go Aller, Mendoza, and then I'd probably go Sayin. I think Dante Moore, even though losing Evan Stewart, I think Lanning could scheme up a good season for Dante Moore. And then at five, I could go a bunch of different directions. Like Damon Williams, um, Breeze's guy Gronowski, like has a pretty high ceiling too with his dual threat
Yeah, didn't
abilities.
even mention him. Like
But
the
yeah,
question there is how does he
yeah.
translate to
Well,
stepping up another level? I know he's played at Iowa before. It was a disastrous game, but obviously that wasn't a great situation. I like,
Rayola,
and I should say
Rayola,
it's better than what Iowa's had going into a season in
yeah.
forever.
Well, I mean, I would say too Rayola too. If it's like Holgo running the show and less of Matt Rule, in my opinion, he's another. Who I wouldn't is I'm lower on Altmaier. Nico too wouldn't make my top five. But again, yeah, like Damon Williams is intriguing as a top five guy. But no, I like Fernando Mendoza a lot. I could talk a lot about him. I think he's in a really good spot this year. I'm excited to talk about Indiana.
I agree. I know that you're gonna try to sell some Indiana upside. I think I would go all encompassing, so like trying to take into account going to the season, end of the season situations. Um, I'd probably go Aller saying Mendoza, Rayola, although I'm still not fully sold on Rowan. It's not like his situation is.
I know it.
I mean, what did the last 8 games of last year? He had 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, or something like that. Um, and they have some questions on their roster. Although year three rule,
I'm just waiting for him to pop.
yep.
Is
No,
it?
the potential's there. Potential's there with a lot of these guys. And then I might go. Yeah, I was thinking about Williams at five, but I might put Altmaier in there just at five. But the ceiling, like we pretty much know, I think where Altmaier doesn't have the upside anymore.
Yeah.
I think what last year was like as good as it's going to get.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
curious your thoughts on. Illinois because this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion and a hot take, which is good news for Illinois fans because I was dead wrong on Illinois last year. But they're like a popular sleeper pick. They're a popular, hey, they're this year's Indiana. And there's for sure a lot to like about Illinois. I mean, number one, just the experience factor. It's not a lot of teams that have number one, just their quarterback coming back, but most of their team. I mean, they're the most experienced team in the Big Ten by a pretty wide margin. And then their schedule. They avoid Penn State, Michigan, Oregon. You host Ohio State. They have one team coming off a bye on their whole schedule, and it's Purdue. Um, and then you have five Big Ten home games. With that said, I'm not there. Like I said, I don't think Altmaier has the ceiling. I think they're really going to miss Bryant and Franklin. I mean, we'll see. Clement and Boak. I think that Boak has a ton of potential. I was so intrigued to see where he went after he just completely popped off for Ball State for like at the end of the season when he came in. But this is still a team. I mean, they haven't won 8+ games in back-to-back years since 1990. And I know that baselines for teams, this is one of the most difficult things in today's college football landscape, is that in the past, I would always have, you would always have ranges for specific teams, like a program and coach, their floor and their ceiling, like a realistic floor and ceiling. A lot of that's thrown out the window now. I mean, because teams are basically starting over every single year, and there's just so much more variance. It's one of the things I struggle with. It's like, oh, I might have to downgrade this team 20 points, but I'm not used to doing that. And like a Florida State, like how bad can they really be? But teams can drastically change from one season to another. Like Purdue, where do I power rate Purdue? Speaking of the Big Ten this year, which is just a brand new team essentially with a brand new staff. So there's just a wide range of outcomes with them. But Illinois, I think, is overrated coming into the year. I get that they won 10 games last year, nine versus FBS teams. Five of the nine, five of their nine wins versus FBS teams, they trailed in the fourth quarter, including the bowl game. And the teams that they beat last year in the regular season, they went 9-3. Those teams went 42 and 66 combined. And again, they trailed in over half of their FBS wins on the season. They easily could have been 5-7, 6-6. I mean, the Purdue game, they trailed with 43 seconds left. They won in overtime. Purdue doesn't get a two. The Rutgers game, the Hail Mary, the Hail Mary against Rutgers with 14 seconds left. I still don't know how that happened. They beat Nebraska in overtime. They trailed in the fourth. Kansas, they were outplayed in that game. They trailed in the fourth of that game. Like, easily could have been much worse. So I got to give Bielema credit for what he's done. The receivers are going to go a long way because I just think Bryant Franklin did so much for them last year. Um, and I'm just not sold on the stealing of this Illinois team that others are. I get the experience, I get the schedule. There's a lot of things working in their favor. Um, but I'm, as of right now, initially a seller of Illinois.
Yeah. So it's funny because I came in ready to ramble about Indiana and stack them up to, the cream of the crop. But I mean, even stacking them up to Illinois gives me a lot of thoughts. Like if we were to,
Well, that game's huge. Week 4, Illinois at
no,
Indiana.
that's the first real big game for Indiana because they should start 3-0. They play a scrappy ODU team, but then they, get Kennesaw State and Indiana State. So me thinks that, you ease in Fernando. You don't have to throw a lot of fastballs. You still have some guys working back from injury. Like Omar Cooper, I think, was banged up. EJ Williams is still slowly coming back. So you get kind of that rest, and it's a Cignetti team. So I mean, Stuck, like if you were to, because Indiana and Illinois, I'm looking at it right now, like very similarly priced.
Yeah.
But I think with Indiana, and I like Bielema. I think you're getting a better coach. You're getting a higher ceiling for a quarterback. You're getting similar cultures, but with Indiana that you're not going to get an environment that's going to quit on its coach at any point of the season. The roster is good. I think Indiana's a 5E team just from a roster construction point. You got both of the Mendoza brothers in the quarterback room. They live together. Elijah Surratt, their alpha wide receiver from the JMU infusion. They brought over Mekhi Jackson from Appalachian State, who they both played. Elijah Surratt and Mekhi Jackson both at St. Francis, PA. So they were teammates before. Omar Cooper comes back. I mean, just like super vibey team. You get Pat Coogan from Notre Dame as their new center. He played in the national championship last year. Marist legend Pat Coogan from the ESCC. So yeah, and then defensively again to JMU infusion, captains and leaders on basically all three levels. I'm pretty sure Mikhail Kamara.
Yeah, they go for, I like how Cignetti approaches the portal. Franco
Yeah,
started doing this a little more. Like he used to value guys that they had really highly rated coming out of high school and then that never lived up to expectations. This year, a couple more guys that are proven. That's kind of Cignetti's model. Give me the production past actual college production, even if it's at group of five level, over
yeah, yeah.
potential and previous ratings. So I personally on paper like a lot of their portal additions.
And here's another thing to think about too, Stuck. Mendoza getting in a Cignetti offense. Was listening to Chasing the Natty that Jared Palmgren runs. Big about Devy guys and awesome to get a feel for some of these younger players. We're talking about like some of the best offensive play callers, head coaches for quarterbacks, like the quarterback whisperers. Lincoln Riley, Sark, obviously were mentioned, but I'm surprised I didn't mention Cignetti, just based off of his track record and what he's done with, I would say what he's done with so little. But I mean, Todd Centillo in 2021, Sun Belt Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Jordan McLeod the next year, they won 11 games. And then last year, Rourke wasn't a Conference Player of the Year, but set the Indiana record for passing touchdowns. And like Mendoza, man, I don't know if you're going to get a better price on like a head coach quarterback duo, because I don't think either of those guys are at the top of their market right now. Like what Stuck honest, like without even taking any opinions into account, like what are your thoughts on Fernando Mendoza? Like,
I like him a lot from
yeah,
everything I've seen,
yeah,
and it's not like he was in. He's upgrading
big time,
uh,
big time.
systems, coaching, just his overall situation. And every time I've watched him, I really like him. I mean, I think he has pro potential for sure.
He's got a lot of untapped potential, man. I mean, he ran a little bit last year. Like there were some times where in a Cal offense, man, he's had some funny things about Cal. I gotta touch back on. But you know, in a Cal offense where last year you're not playing in a lot of positive game scripts.
Yeah,
You're not playing it with a coaching staff that's great at developing. Like he literally said he chose Indiana because they're a developing program.
yeah.
Uh, and you know, and he looked comfortable like running the zone read. He had a couple rushing touchdowns, and you know, I think McShay on his podcast when they were diving into the quarterback class comped him to Jared Goff, which Goff had a Sonny Dykes offense, so he was always kind of like, you know, back there just kind of precision passing and surgical. But Mendoza to me kind of gives me like Daniel Jones vibes back when he was with Cutcliffe at Duke. Like might not look intimidating, but like comfortable in the pocket, like can run an offense, a leader, mature. And then again, I think he's going to tap into his rushing. And with a Cignetti, Mike Shanahan offense, you'd think that this is just going to be, you know, downhill, play action, quarterback read, a very nuanced yet like perfect fit for Mendoza. You talk about fits like,
So by the way, you like a flyer on to win the Big Ten.
yeah, so
50 to
I
1 ish you can find, I think.
48, it was 48 to 1. So here, it was 48 to 1 at FanDuel. Checking our consensus odds page was at 35 to 1. And I said, oh, I'm going to take a bite of 35 to 1. And then I had just checked FanDuel and they were actually at 48 to 1. I was like, absolutely. And then at 190 to 1, I mean, I know we could just like stress value, but this is just kind of like bang for your buck type stuff. I can go to bed at night. Like, I mean, I tweeted the other day that I was going to bet him. You told me that a mix in a water. I was bone sober.
No, with a question mark. I wanted to get other people's thoughts.
I know you. You know what? I know you did because I told my wife, I was like, hey babe, really excited to go on the BBOC podcast talk Indiana. She's like, that's awesome. And then like an hour later, I was like crying in the corner. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, I just accidentally put my opinion out there. Stuckey got his goons after me. Everybody's gonna know. But yeah, like it's again one of those bets where it might be cliche to say it, but like I bet it, and I am completely fine knowing that my money is in the hands of Cignetti, high floor team, I mean, I can go through the schedule. I mean, 3-0
If the schedule's,
start.
if you assume if you take a stance on Illinois is overrated, and we think Indiana's a tad underrated, right? And they win that game. The rest of the schedule is all matched. You just have you have three tough road games at Iowa, at Penn State, at Oregon. Um, Now Iowa, we don't know with Gronowski how he's going to translate. Oregon, we don't know with Dante Moore. Penn State game will be tough. But
Yeah.
if they find a way to go 11-1 again, um, there's a good chance they're in the Big Ten championship.
So yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
and
mean,
like I can't get there on national title. I just don't think they have the upside. Like, but they were such an interesting study last year. Like, there's some things like you could point to if I'm going to be fair, because I picked apart Illinois' schedule. Indiana, they were plus 15 turnover margin. The teams that they beat last year were 51 and 81. They beat one team with a winning record, which was Michigan, and they couldn't move the ball in the second half. I mean, it looked like they couldn't even gain a yard. That was it. In fairness, on the flip side, they did just crush everyone that they played and beat, um, which is worth something. And but they only played two teams with a winning record in the regular season. Expected to play four this year. We'll see how that works out. But I just think that they're, you see against Notre Dame, they scored two touchdowns late to make that a little more respectable.
it wasn't even
Um,
close. Yeah,
I
that
think they're still too far away from the very top. But in the Big Ten, we started off this entire conversation with the extreme variance and uncertainty with the quarterbacks
mhm.
across the entire conference from top to bottom, which then just creates wide range of outcomes for so many of these teams, right? Like if
Landing in
Dante
Oregon.
Moore is terrible, or like if you're Michigan and Bryce Underwood is like ends up being a god, then Michigan's going to be in the conversation, right? Even if there's O line and receiver questions. But you could go all the way down the list with all these teams, and not just to get to the Big Ten title, but they could end up all these teams could just crush their win totals or go way under, and then that's going to impact everyone's schedules, right? So we can look at the schedules now and say like, all right, I project where this team's going to be, but there's so much quarterback uncertainty that taking a flyer in the Big Ten, I don't hate the approach.
Yeah, so because I like them at over 8.5 on their win total at plus money, I think it just opens up the doors to bet them in other futures markets. And because of the high floor, high ceiling, and I'll say it again, the environment, like if I had to rank, like I'm not going to sit here and like start naming teams that I think would quit on their coaches, but if I was to rank like one through down the list of teams that I wouldn't be worried about, it would be like service academies, and Indiana's up there. Like nobody's bigger than the program there. You could read some of the quotes. I'm going to read you. Actually, you know, Stuck. I'm not one of the guys to like read a quote and like glean insights from it and like start making positions, but I'm going to read you a quote from EJ Williams, their wide receiver, former Clemson guy, didn't really pan out. I'm not even looking for stuff to like confirm any of my priors stuff, but like hearing this stuff kind of feels good to root for a program that's approaching stuff like this. He says, I've been a part of a lot of good teams. I don't want to sound cocky, but you know, by the way teams practice and work in the weight room, you know what it looks like. You know, by the execution of plays, the aggressiveness, how fast everybody is flying around the ball. I saw it when I was at Clemson my freshman year, being part of that environment. These guys that Signetti brought in turned Indiana, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, being around that and seeing that was back when Clemson had, you know, T and was that Trevor's last year? I mean,
Yeah.
that, you know, I mean, again, nothing huge. It's not something, but it's not nothing. So I don't have to worry about like that week 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's hosting Illinois, at Iowa, bye week, and that at Oregon. It's like, you know, if they lose 2 games there, which I would actually make fair, like, I think they take like 1.3 losses. I bet if you ask somebody else, how many losses do they take? 0.0 to 3.0. I bet most would say above 1.5. I'd probably put it lower. But if they lose 2 of those games, I mean, I'm not worried about a Signetti team. Like, I think that could be a turning point moment for them. And then you just got Penn State, and if they take care of everything else, then you're at 9 wins. And my approach was kind of just basically, all right, you clear 8.5 wins at plus 120, and then take the juice off and put it on the national title and Big Ten odds. And then I'm okay knowing that I have a great coach, potential first round quarterback that maybe nobody really sees right now. an experienced center. Team's not big, like really big coming out of the locker room, but again, I don't mind sprinkling a couple bucks on Indiana. They're my first real like plant flag this season, so feels good.
Yep. Yeah,
I
I will say the quit factor. A
think
lot
it's
of times it's very in the past. That's always been very narrative-y. But I think in today's college football landscape, we're going to see more of it just because naturally, right? If your team doesn't live up to expectations, right? And a lot
yep.
of times like football, like it's locker room. We both of us played. It's about camaraderie. Even if you're in a losing streak, it's like we're still going. We still want to win. But in today's day and age, you're not living up to expectations. It's week 10. What are a lot of these kids going to do? You're starting to look at where could you maybe go next? What are your other opportunities to get paid? And like so, it's just so much easier to get distracted. Um, so it's something to keep in mind. But by the way, is Penn State now tight end U in the NFL? They've had like did they just with Warren being drafted?
Warren
It used to
Gesicki.
be Miami, but now you're in this year coming up in the NFL. You're going to
Oh,
have five Penn State tight ends who start in the NFL that were drafted all in the last 7 years.
Iowa
Warren, Strange, Johnson, Gesicki, Freiermuth. Iowa's four. They were
State.
like, so I went from Miami to Iowa was the new tight end U because you got Kittle, Hawkinson, Fant, and Laporta. But now Penn State has five. I don't know. And they're just consistently sending guys every year to the draft that end up being starters. I think the four Iowa are still more talented, but they're also maybe getting a little older compared to Penn State, especially with Warren's entrance. So I don't know. Just the thought. Penn State's been killing it with tight ends. We'll see if someone can step up this year. I think Penn State's receivers got better. I like some of their portal additions, but obviously, and you trust Kotelnicki, but replacing Warren is not going to be easy. He was like worth like two receivers in that offense. So we'll see who can step up. Obviously, got some talent there, but that's not going to be an easy task. But all right, we'll have so much more on the Big Ten when we do our Big Ten preview. But it's just thought it was a very interesting exercise because the quarterback, and we see this in a lot of conferences. It's just the nature of the beast now in college football. But the quarterbacks in the Big Ten, especially with a couple teams that are expected to
We
compete
need,
for a national title, get into the college football playoff, there's a ton of questions.
how about this? Like, we didn't even mention Jaden Maeva.
Yep.
It's just
And for
another.
whatever you want to say about Lincoln Riley, generally you can trust him with quarterbacks in the past,
Yeah,
and he's got two receivers who I love that he can rely on.
Makai
So
Lemon.
yeah, he was up and down, and when he was inserted into the starting lineup last year, maybe I mean like just look at the Texas A&M game. It was a disaster for most of it. Luckily, that was a thrilling betting win. He put it together at the end, so we'll see what Riley can do with a full offseason. They have some offensive line questions, but there's some potential there. But yeah, Maeda, there's a lot of guys like that. Like, what does Nico do with a fresh start?
Oof.
I'm not really sold on that. If he couldn't do well in Tennessee, it's going to be tough. But we'll see. Still has a ton of talent. Even there's so many fascinating storylines. I mean, you could go to like the Maryland, they're going to start a true freshman. I
Yeah,
mean, Loxley's done that in the past. But you could go Preston Stone. There's a hyped up guy. Now he's going to Northwestern. Are they going to get much better quarterback play? Obviously, not a great situation to be in. You got Childs. Can he put it all together with Jonathan Smith? Again, not the best situation, but just a lot of um, fascinating questions across the Big Ten. But speaking of quarterbacks, you got an F Mary kill for me quarterbacks this year.
I do. Yeah, we went Big 12 edition last time we run out with Dan Pierre, Sawyer Robertson, and then you killed my son Sam Levitt. We'll do the chalk this time. We'll go Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeyer.
All right, I'm going to F uh Nuss. So if I need one quarterback for one game, one night stand, uh, I'm going with Nuss. I'm marrying Aller because I'm getting Kodal Nicky. Um, and I'm just there's going to be a lot of stability. I don't know if I'm going to have the best marriage in the world, but there's I trust in Penn State to like get to the College Football Playoff this year. It might not be because of valor. It's kind of like a package deal. Like when you marry someone, it comes with other benefits. So one of them is having Kodal Nicky and his experience. Cade has a ton of potential. If Cade can continue what he did at the very end of last year, but
Mhm.
I still have some reservations. And I mean, yeah, it's either you're getting in bed with Dabo or Franklin for a marriage, but I guess I'm killing Cade, and I'm plus Colin's all in on Cade this year, and so I want to be anti-Cade for that reason. So yeah, we're killing Cade, we're marrying Aller, and we're effing Nuss. How
Okay.
about I'll go for you a little off the beaten path with all right, how about Mateer, Arnold, and Beck?
Ooh. Ooh, I haven't thought a lot about Carson Beck this year. Ooh. Okay, you know what? I'll take oh man, I gotta kill Jackson Arnold. Heard I've heard some things about Jackson Arnold that he may stink, but and his offense, I love Auburn's wide
Yep.
receiving core.
And they
They
they finally should have a capable offensive line. I think he meshes well. It just comes down to how much was Arnold him not living up to expectations, and how much was it his surroundings, right? The entire offensive line was hurt, all the receivers were hurt. How do you assign that blame? How much was Arnold? How much was it his surrounding, and how much can Gus get out of him? Another fascinating quarterback question there. But and then Mateer too is like, can Mateer
yeah,
go from Washington State to Oklahoma, and how does that translate?
I'll take Carson Beck for the year, and I will have a one night stand with John Mateer. I love Mateer. I think I think anybody who like loves college football will love John Mateer, but he also kind of scares the hell out of me as a guy who could lose you games. But in a one game scenario where I'm like, go just bull your shoulder over, throw the ball 60 yards off your back foot and make a play. Then that's
I
how
mean,
I play.
Arnold and Beck too. They could lose you games on any given day too. In
Yeah,
that scenario.
you know what? I think I'm buying Carson Beck in Miami's offense. I think he'll look a lot better playing in the ACC. Good receivers. Again, I don't have a lot of good things to say about Super Mario, but in that scenario, yeah, I'll kill Jackson Arnold. I'll sleep with Mateer, and I'll take Carson Beck's hand in marriage.
All right. Before we continue here, quick ad read from one of our favorites, Underdog. Go yard all baseball season long with Underdog's Pick'em game. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose from things like home runs, strikeouts, total bases, and so much more. Once your picks feel good, you can play with as little as $1. If you get everything right, you could win up to 1,000 times your money. There's nothing I like doing better in the off season, not spending any time handicapping baseball, or it was the NBA playoffs and the Stanley Cup finals. Wasn't put any work. All my work's in football, but I sit down at night, want some action, just log in to Underdog and put in some fun pick'ems. So make sure you download the Underdog app and sign up with the promo code BBOC to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code BBOC. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. All right. We're gonna do this to me, but I'm actually gonna flip the script and I'm gonna list quarterbacks, and you tell me if you think they're an alpha or not, and I'll tell you where I disagree.
Okay, that sounds good.
Cade Klubnik,
Alpha.
Drew Aller.
Drew Aller is not an alpha.
I would agree. Klubnik, he's close for me. He's not. He didn't qualify yet. Avery Johnson,
Man, I want to say yes, but I'm going to say no.
Rocco Becht,
Rocco Beck is not an alpha.
Jaden Maeda,
I've changed stances on this. I wanted to say he is an alpha, but he's not an alpha.
Sam Levitt. Well, I already know what you're gonna say for this one.
uh, Alpha
Sawyer Robertson. You could
is
say
not
TBD.
is not an alpha.
Dylan. So do you think that you're either an alpha or not, and you can't develop into one? Would you?
Right
Do you agree?
now, right now.
Okay, but I'm saying you can become one, even though you're not one.
Sure, sure. Sawyer Robertson, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Here's an interesting one. Dylan Raiola.
it is an interesting one. I think yes.
If you think Mahomes is an alpha, then you have to say that Raiola is a wannabe Mahomes
Next
alpha.
one's
I
an
don't know.
easy one, no.
Lagway.
Yeah, DJ Lagway is an absolute alpha.
Yes. Gronowski.
Gronowski is not an alpha because I will stand by the stance that Illinois quarterbacks cannot be.
Iowa, you mean?
No, no, no. Well, sorry. Mark Gronowski is from Neuqua Valley,
Oh,
Illinois.
you mean from where you don't think anyone from Illinois could be an alpha quarterback?
Well, I mean, unless you're JJ McCarthy, Nazareth legend. I'm just not big on Illinois quarterbacks coming out of the state of Illinois, so that's why I'm just sticking by my Gronowski take.
I wish I could.
Exactly, you don't know a lot of them because they're not good.
Most of them are from Pennsylvania and Ohio. And some New Orleans, some Louisianas. I'm trying to think by state.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the most famous Illinois quarterback? So it's McCarthy.
Like Jake Christensen.
Man, I never even thought of this. Why?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. People don't think about this stuff. Better start thinking about this stuff.
Otto Graham. Let's see, you got to go back to you watch college football in the 40s when he was at Northwestern.
No.
Um, so, and then the last one, Luke Altmaier.
Yeah, no, he's not an alpha.
Correct. I think I agree with most of your assessments. So nice work. News, any betting nuggets? Um, oh, Notre Dame's going to sell alcohol?
Yeah. Hey, crazy, right? So Notre Dame plug, really good DFS player who I respect his Notre Dame opinions, mentioned and noted that this will be the first year that Notre Dame selling alcohol and that it will mean something for night games in terms of crowd noise and, maybe worth something to the spread. And if you look at the 3 night games they play this year, Stuck, big ones, Navy, A&M, and USC. So, I mean, just
So they're going
something.
to sell it. I assume they said Notre. I assume they sold it in like their suites or like but now they're selling it like to everyone can buy alcohol for
Yeah.
certain games.
Yeah.
Obviously, much more in the Big Ten and every conference in our previews in a couple weeks. But thanks again to Mitchell. Thanks to Alex. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Leave a 5-star review. They really help us this time of the year. I'll have some contests and some giveaways for anyone that leaves a 5-star review. You can say whatever you want. Um, and we'll do some giveaways and contests when we start up the conference preview. So get in there early. You'll have a head start on everyone else. But thanks again for tuning in. Enjoy America's holiday. Have a safe and fun 4th of July. And we'll see you later on in July when we dive into all of the conferences. Cheers.